Hello guys and welcome again to the channel. So we have another deck tech here. So standard now that this coming weekend will be the release of the Spider-Man set, basically making it legal to play in the format. And today's build is kind of like going with the artifacts or affinity, if you're yet familiar with that archetype. I think it's still in the modern format, still tired deck, but this one will explore now what the new cards might offer to us with that of this setup with the Spider-Man included in the standard format. So let's take a look at this build. We will call this one as Izzet Artifacts Spider-Man set. The grid view, we have 24 artifacts, basically having also with these variants, and some of them are pretty much familiar if you played the synthesizer deck. We have 12 creatures, most of which are also artifact creatures, basically a single instant, 23 lands to wrap up this. And this is blue-red version, which means that we have access, of course, to some of the staple counter spells in the sideboard, but we'll have it in another video. But for now, let's take a look at the choices of this deck as to why this setup would still be a possible look for this deck archetype. So we have, for the 1 mana costs, is basically having with this legendary artifact Enigma Jewel. So what it does is that it can basically add 2 to spend for activating of abilities, and can be later on be crafted to other artifacts or non-lands to make this one. But basically the purpose here is that you can have this one as a 1 mana cost to basically ramp you up to your other spells or artifacts with their activated abilities needed for your gameplay. So we have 4 copies of that in this deck. We have again the Peter Parker's camera. If you've seen a previous video, I have chosen this one as one of my potential cards to have in the standard format, in which you can affect most of the decks, especially those with the triggers or activated abilities, because you can basically copy them with this card and then choose 2 targets for that copy. So with this kind of activation, basically the Enigma Jewel can help you up to do this activity of abilities with only just 2 cards needed. So that is 2 copies. I've also included the trend block. So basically this just goes with having to fulfill the affinity mechanic, and basically also having you to draw a card whenever it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. So later on, you know that this will be important because you've seen this card as to where it would benefit you to get you to also gain you 3 life or also draw you to a card. So for your basic 2 drops here in terms of removal and card draw effects, so we have Chainsaw. Again, this is just the other 3 damage, 2 mana cost artifact equipment, and then this triggers more putting counters whenever 1 or more creatures die, and then the equipped creature gets plus X+0 is X the number of rev counters. So this would be a useful artifact equipment later on, but primarily this would just act as a spot removal for this kind of deck build. The other deck build here would also goes with having your card draw effects and also get you to stun needed the target. A top creature is your copies of Cryogen Relic. This is 4 copies in the deck. This can also be furthered later on for this 2-drop mana cost, which I call this the engine of this deck. This is the Legion Extruder, which is another 4 copies in the build. This goes with the ETB effect to deal 2 damage to the target, and then you can sacrifice artifacts to create this army of 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens. So this way, this would also get you to benefit with the relic or the nutrient block to sacrifice and get more of these tokens. And the other one over here for the 2 mana cost bracket is your Collector's Vault. This can also get you to create tokens of treasure tokens, but also furnish you to discard or draw a card and then discard a card to kind of smoothen up your card draw. And for the 3 mana cost, this is your basically your tutor effect because you can search the ability for an artifact card with mana value equals to 1 plus the sacrificed artifact's mana value and put it into the battlefield. And for Maker's Gunship, this is just a one-off because you can basically tutor this through the repurposing bay. This enters, it will deal damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target creature and opponent controls, and later on compensation to become a 4/3 flyer to become a threat on your own. But basically, you can see this, the engine of this deck is to benefit to create armies of 3/3 colors golem, whereas later on can also be crucial with this creature lineup that we're about to discuss. So you can see here, Pinnacle Emissary would be your best way to generate board advantage by warping it for 1 and then casting your artifact spells, because it will trigger to create these drone tokens. These are 1/1 colorless flying creatures but can only block creatures with flying. You can imagine having this and later on equip it with the chainsaw to deal some huge chunks of damage. And the good thing about this is also an artifact which you can also cast for its hard mana cost later on. So we have 4 copies of that in the deck. You have also Memory Guardian, which can benefit for the more artifacts you have. It will cost less, and also a 3/4 flyer by itself. And the other card here, the new card, Iron Spider, which can basically buff up your creatures or other creatures by putting some counter on each of them. And then also you can use this 2 mana to remove 2 some counters and then draws you a card. And per se, this is basically a 3 mana cost vigilance, which means that you can still attack at the same time put counters on each artifact creature, basically putting also counters on itself to become bigger and a better threat, and to have also your army of drone tokens more efficient as attackers. And just a one-off copy of utility card here. In times that you would need to card draw, you can use this Slug Drill Scrapper to sacrifice another artifact or land to draw you a card. So that is basically your lineup for this deck. Create this army of drone tokens and this golem artifact creature tokens to develop your board and overwhelm your opponent. And the one-off copy of this card, which also benefit you because it is a 5 mana cost per se, but this would be your late game plan for this. You can have this Survey X, which is the number of artifacts you control, and then draw 3 cards. So surveilling is basically digging up top X cards and then put them in your graveyard or the rest in top or in order. So basically digging up for answers and more threats. Basically you need some sort of a one-off card draw for your late game plan. And for your land mana up, basically you can still have River Fire Bears, Inspired Bluff Canal as your mana fix. We also included some basic lands in mountains and island, and 2 Thundering Falls for your surveil effects that can also smoothen up your draw. And do take note also, Fulmary Bolt would also be important here because of looking at top X cards where X the number of artifacts you control, basically digging up for more of your threats or answers in these certain situations, and then put those one of those cards that was looked upon to your hand and the rest in the bottom in random order. So basically this would be the core setup of this deck, along with this new inclusion of Iron Spider as your one way to buff up your team and make some huge attacks through their tokens and variants. And for the deck stats, you can see here production is pretty even. We have 15 for red and 18 for blue. Costing is more of the blue, 20 over 12, but nevertheless this would still function well because some of them are not really need you to have colors because of the mana cost. Is basically artifacts. And average mana value is 2.43, and the tokens here, as mentioned, are your drone token from the Emissary, golem token, and treasure token from the Collector's Bolt. So I think that's pretty much it, guys, for this deck tech. It's very much very basic for this kind of build to what it would look like in the format standard with the Spider-Man set. But overall, I think sideboarding for this would be very crucial for you for sideboarded games, because we still have a lot of choices as to how you would play out this strategy, expecting from other lineups of the new decks with the Spider-Man set affecting the format. So I guess that's it, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications on. This will be our deck feature for today, and see you guys on the next video upload.